I am reshafting a set of irons again. I've got the Titleist 712 AP2 irons. They currently have the Dynamic Gold R300, which is a 127 gram shaft. And I'm replacing the shafts with the SteelFiber i95 in stiff. Now they definitely feel faster. So these are at standard length, 37 inches, and I've got the lie angle here at 61 degrees, which is 2 degrees flat. Now in terms of direction on the golf ball, this is where the ball's going to start. When the club is 2 degrees flatter, we move the ball flight to the right hand side. If we've got a standard lie angle here at 63 degrees, if we go 2 degrees flatter, we encourage the ball to move to the right hand side. Sometimes you might do that if you're slightly shorter than most people, because if I'm shorter, that toe sticks up more, so we bring the toe down to level it out. Or if you hit the ball left a lot like me, I do it to correct the flight, and I just prefer the way it looks at the ground. I've got a Shrixon Z-Star Diamond. I'm going to hit the 5 iron, 7 iron and 9 iron just to get some data to start with to compare. And I'm just going to hit a few 9 irons with that R300 regular flex shaft. So I'll tap the ground a little bit early, which I tend to do when I'm cold and not quite warmed up. Now these 712 AP2s are from 2012-ish, and they're a bit more traditionally lofted. They're not as strong as some of the modern sets of irons. I'm still getting my little draw, just not as much of it. Now also the Dynamic Gold R300 at 127 grams is a little bit heavier than some of the modern shafts that we're going to try later. Feels nice and solid off the head. Now it is nice and compact, and it certainly doesn't feel flimsy. Tiny bit thin, same sort of shot though, same sort of shape. Moving into the green in the same sort of area as the others, maybe costing a few yards on that one. Not a bad grouping around this area. Now I'm going to build the shafts, the new shafts, in exactly the same swing weight, so I can try and replicate the feel as much as possible and to really isolate the difference between the shafts so nothing else changes. Quite happy with that grouping. Average carry 142 with 8,200 spin. Just going to move up to the 7 iron, but I've moved the green 10 yards closer than I normally would just because the weaker lofts on these probably won't let the ball go quite as far. In all honesty, I would quite happily get rid of the numbers on the clubs and either write the loft or have on there my average carry distance instead. Little draw, slightly left of target, moving in a similar pattern to what I'm used to, 170 carry. Similar sort of shot, 171. Oh, I've hit the ground a little bit early there, turned it over a bit more. Definitely put that down to a bad swing. One of the benefits of the AP2s is that we've got a nice thin top edge with a club that's slightly more forgiving but doesn't look too chunky from the top. When we're looking at an iron that's got that little bit of cavity on that top half, as you look at this, all that weight is underneath the golf ball helping it get airborne, so we've got that little bit more forgiveness. When we've got weight on the heel and the toe of the club, when you hit the ball off centre, it stops the head from twisting as much and deflecting as much when we don't quite get the middle of the face. So we've got that little bit of extra help without being too big and chunky behind the ball. It looks better for that lower handicap golfer or even a mid handicap golfer that wants it to look more like a blade but perform with that little bit of forgiveness. Better contact, similar shape, maybe a little bit less draw straight at the pin, up to that 165 carry. Grouping not too bad. Didn't feel particularly easy. It did still feel like quite hard work, even for a regular flex. Average carry 164, but I did have quite a few misstrikes in there, so would newer shafts, newer technology be easier? Just under 6,200 spin. And the 5 iron, I do like how these sit, being slightly flatter. Suits my eye just that little bit more. Well, big pull, bit of an overdraw. Better contact, still flying up that left hand side. Now I don't want to start making swing changes while I'm testing this. I'm just putting raw swings, natural swings on the ball, seeing what it does. Or something like that. A little bit more on line. Now the strike is a little bit scrappy, and I think this regular flex 127 gram shaft would compare to most modern stiffs quite well. Slightly higher launch, nice and straight, just right at the pin, but short. Not bad, again, quite straight. Also, do still have the potential to hit those left ones within that group. Short. Average carry 193 with 4,900 spin on average. Let's go and rip the shafts out. So one thing I just want to measure is the swing weights. The original grips have been changed, so I think these are maybe slightly lighter than the standard ones, which would mean that they come out just a little bit heavier. D3.5, 9 iron. But if the swing weight changes, then they all change really. D3 on the 7 iron and D3 on the 5 iron. Sometimes the 9 iron and pitch and wedge just get a little bit heavier in swing weight, and then the wedges get even more heavier, so it's a bit of a blend through the set, but most of the irons are the same normally. Alright, so let's get some heads off and rebuild them. The SteelFiber i95 shafts have just got a little bit more help than your normal steel shaft, so we've got some characteristics from graphite that allow the shaft to bend that a little bit more and make life a little bit easier. The name SteelFiber is there because we've got a metal weave within that graphite shaft that just brings the stability and solidity of the shaft up to perform more like a steel shaft with the benefits of graphite. It's got the things we want from a graphite in terms of performance, and also the things we want from a steel shaft in terms of performance. So we've got lighter, more helpful, but we've got that structure that stops it from twisting as much compared to a graphite shaft. So I've got the finished article here with the SteelFiber i95. Now I've put the original grips back on because I can't remember what grips the customer wanted. Just going to run through some shots with the 9 iron, 7 iron and 5 iron so we can compare some data. Similar sort of flight and shape, left side. Now they definitely feel faster. Pretty good grouping on 3 shots, same sort of area as I had before. Thin, still in the same sort of area. Bear in mind I made the swing weight exactly the same, grip exactly the same, lie angle exactly the same. 7 iron. I can feel the extra pace. I haven't looked at the numbers yet, but it feels faster or easier to be fast. So a little bit further left, but definitely feeling more ease and less resistance through impact. Now I have adjusted slightly for that shot. Open my body up a little bit faster. Pretty good grouping, generally similar area, left or straight. So I'm not looking at the numbers just yet, but it feels promising. Straight at it, on the dance floor. Not the best strike, but I've still got the same area, I've still got the same pattern. Front edge. Bit of a heel strike. I felt a little bit of distortion from the strike, but I didn't actually lose much. I'm still in that same front edge. Grouping, lovely. So I think I'm not quite on my game ball striking wise, but I did feel like the missed strikes were a little bit more helped. Yeah. Being that a little bit lighter, it's just easier to get through the ball. Dynamic Gold to i95. I'm 5 miles an hour faster. I've got the same spin rate. My carry's gone up 7 yards. It's all looking very healthy. So my peak height's a little bit higher, so that could be a little bit of a compromise. So the wind might affect it a touch more. And I've got a little bit more draw spin. I've got 956 draw spin against 670. So slightly higher, slightly more draw, but faster and longer. Now the Dynamic Gold 7 iron, 117.7, 164 carry. The i95, 126.5 ball speed, 175 carry. So again, my peak height's gone up 5 yards, but I'm almost 10 miles an hour faster. And I've got about 400 revs more spin, but my launch angle is exactly the same at 21 for both. Draw spin, I've only got 100 revs more side spin, more draw. So again, slightly higher, slightly lefter, marginally. The main thing is the extra speed. So the old 5 iron, 130 speed, 193 carry. Now I've got 134 speed, 197 carry. So I didn't quite get as much increase with the 5 iron, but it's still an increase. And 4,900 with the old 5 iron spin rate. And I've just under 300 more revs of backspin on this. 17.6 launch launch with the new shaft, the 0.1 different on the old. I feel like I got more good strikes from these shafts. We've got way more ball speed across the board, and I think the benefits with this shaft for the customer are going to be exactly what he was after. Also, the directions were interestingly just a little bit right of the previous directions by up to 4 or 5 yards.